Hey, hope everybody's having a good day. We're going to dive into Nerves of Steel. Well, we've already started talking about it, but we're going to discuss some common themes in the book because before the safety accident, there was patterns and themes that emerged in her life, and we're going to tie those themes to human factors and also biblical principles as well, biblical worldview. So let's dive into it. So the overview, these are the 5 themes, as I was speaking about previously, that we're going to talk about. Resiliency and overcoming obstacles. This was huge. This was probably like the most common recurring thing from that book. Preparation. She was very thorough and fastidious in her preparation. Mentorship. That was a big theme, as well as stewardship and integrity. So the most prominent theme from the book, Nerves of Steel, was resiliency and overcoming obstacles. So examples from the book: her numerous rejections from flying because she was a woman. So it started from a young age. She was speaking about how she would go to career fairs, and at one career fair she saw an Air Force officer, and she told the officer she wanted to fly, and this colonel replied to her, "Women don't fly." And I know that kind of hurt her. So afterwards, she went up and she talked to a guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor kind of reiterated the sentiments of the colonel, unfortunately. And then, so her mom was also a little skeptical about women flying as well, but that more reflects the thoughts and beliefs of that time, of that period. And then as well, the Navy, when she was younger, did not accept female pilots, but as she went into college, they began to accept them, and then she was one of the first females in her Navy flying program, and she was the first female to ever qualify on the F-18. So, what's this have to do with human factors? Overcoming obstacles builds mental resiliency during stress being the human factor, and improves performance in high-pressure situations. Lee et al., 2025. And how does it relate to biblical leadership principles? Perseverance. James 1:12 states, "Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to him." Meaning, if you're strong and if you persevere, you will be rewarded. Okay, the second theme, preparation. So there was a couple examples from the book. Navy pilot training and emergency procedure practice, constant simulator flying, and strict adherence to checklists and procedures. She stated over and over how many iterations of simulator flying and checklists and procedures she had to do to become qualified on the F-18. And she also said in the book, this is pretty important, the habits you train are the habits you use, meaning if you are used to doing something a certain way, when the time comes when you need to execute, if you've been slacking or you haven't been giving it your all, then it'll come out. So the human factors connection, thorough preparation is a good method to combat complacency. And the biblical leadership principle, preparation. Proverbs 21:5 states, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance." If you plan well, you plan thoroughly, you'll have better outcomes. Okay, the next theme is mentorship. So her father mentored her in aviation early on, and she received mentorship while in the Navy as well. So she spoke about how important those mentors were in her life and guiding her. She discusses the pushback she received as a woman in aviation and the mentors who helped her navigate these hurdles. Eventually, she gained experience and mentored younger pilots in the Navy and civilian sector. Okay, how does that relate to human factors? Mentorship often leads to increased confidence and technical skills. Cutlius et al., 2023. This helps lead to better skilled aviation professionals. And the biblical leadership principle, mentoring. In the Bible, Titus 2 emphasizes the importance of mentorship and leading by example, using your knowledge and experience to guide and support others. Okay, the fourth theme was stewardship. Examples from the book. During the incident on Flight 1380, Schultz's primary concern wasn't her own life, but the 149 souls on board, is the phrasing she uses. She viewed her job as one of service. Her stewardship helped to ensure strong situational awareness, as she was able to process multiple critical elements without becoming overwhelmed. And the biblical leadership principle, Peter 4:10 states, as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as stewards of God's varied grace. Okay, and the final theme was integrity. So some examples from the book. When she was working at Southwest, she was accused of hiding an accident while she was active duty, but she didn't list the accident because she was deemed not at fault. So she didn't think she was hiding anything. She didn't think she was being deceitful. But she was placed on a status where she couldn't fly, and it was unsure if she was going to be able to continue flying. However, she was honest and forthcoming, and eventually got reinstated. So, following through, in the second example, following through on checklists and safety standards, even when it's inconvenient or facing get-there-itis. So how does this relate to human factors? Her strong sense of integrity saw her adhere to protocol when there was pressure to land the aircraft as fast as possible after the accident. She could have skipped steps, she could have done whatever she needed to just land it, but it might not have been safe, it might not have been the appropriate procedure, so she stuck what she needed, she used her integrity, she leaned on her procedure knowledge, her checklist knowledge, and she safely landed the aircraft. Okay, and the biblical leadership principle, honesty. Proverbs 11:3 states, the integrity of the upright guides them. Okay, these are the references. Thank you guys very much.